Hey guys, posting on Trispecs channel. Uh, just testing out the new software and everything, see how it works. But I figured I'd put up this deck of mine. This is the only deck I've been working on. I do have like a Dragon Unity deck put together and Constellars, which the Constellar deck isn't together, and the Dragon Unity deck isn't going to be anywhere near playable until either Dragon's Ravine comes out or until Harpy Harpist come out. But um, uh, Divine Lance is a terrible card. It's okay in pure Dragon Unities, but it's not. It's the. I wish it was something like that volcanic card, trap card. But anyhow, let's get to this deck. This deck is not. It's a deck where you can call it a -1 deck, where almost every play you do is a negative, but the end game is so worth it. You notice that it's not a 40 card deck; it's a 44 card deck. In my real deck, I do not run the vanities because I just don't have them, but I can get those now for really cheap. And I only have one Stardust Spark Dragon, which I require. Instead, I have a Colossal Fighter, but this is the way I would run it if I had the cards. Two Dark Smorgs because you don't want to draw three, in which one time I had three in the deck, and drawing three is just terrible. Three Zombari of the Dark because of these two cards. Um, yeah, Rhoda and Fusion Reserve is just amazing. You could search out this card, and he's up to 2 now because you can now search him out. If they tanked Rhoda again for any reason, which I don't think they should, as long as Tanky's at 3, Rhoda will be at 3. Um, they're coming out with a new spell card that will allow these two cards to be searchable anyway, in pretty much the same way. It's just in magic form for this card. Then the Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo is pretty obvious. You get to your ninjutsu transformation, set it. Then during their draw phase, you activate it. Plus, you activate it to get out your Dark Samorg, which takes out the fact that you need to summon Dark Samorg using Dark Samorg's effect, which obviously is still there, which is why I run the Mist Valley Soldiers. But there are times whenever I don't go for this play, I will do the Ninja Grandmaster Hanzo, tribute him out, because he's basically a plus. When it comes down to it, he ends up being like a +2 for one card. You need all the pluses you can in this deck. So you bounce him out, and then you summon the Mist Valley Soldier, let them attack into it, especially if it's something that can't be targeted or destroyed or whatever. Then you safe zone. You take a little bit of damage, but the card that they love so much might get bounced to their hand. Well, will get bounced to their hand, and then you just protect it. Like if you get your start a Spark Dragon on field, and you protect it using that. 2 Elemental Hero Prismas to get into Last Warrior a little bit faster, or your App Zero. I'm thinking about bumping him up to 2, but the problem is room. Everything in here has a place. I could drop out the Wind Up Zinmans, but he has a place too. Him plus Safe Zone is a mini lock in itself. It's amazing. You drop him on the field, and if they happen to draw that MST, it's like, oh, I'll just save him one more time, whatever. So yeah, Absolute Zero is amazing in any deck that you could put him in. I'm thinking about putting Mass Change, the second one, in this deck because I can drop a Dark Law a lot, but then again, like room is the problem. And now you would say, well, why not just drop out a Stardust Spark Dragon? Well, Stardust Spark Dragon at 1 just makes you work harder without it. Once he goes to the grave, you notice there's no Call of the Haunted or anything in this deck because you don't have room for him. I did run Call of the Haunted at 1 once, and 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be like, oh, okay, well, I have the Call of the Haunted, but I have nothing in there worth summoning, and it's just better to have 2. Summoner Monk, so you can get into your Mist Valley and get into your Stardust Spark Dragon, or you can do your number 66, which also is an amazing lock. Number 66 plus Vanities and Safe Zone. You know you're basically you get that game one, and 9 times out of 10 they're gonna be like, okay, this sucks. This sucks. I mean, I know there's a lot of cards that bounce, but you can see that I run Forbidden Lance and Forbidden Address for that. Tour Guide, I run her at 2, only because you just need to get in. You need her just basically to get into your Anglinier quick or your Levier the Sea Dragon. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to go to your Anglinier. Anglinier at 2 is just you don't get into it fast enough. Like Tour Guide is just you're basically one shot into getting into one of these 3 monsters. I mean, you can get into other monsters by using these, but look, they're so low attack that and defense that you wouldn't be able to do it. There are times. That being said, though, there are times where I'll drop a Mariokutai, and the opponent will draw a spell card and be like, "Oh, I'm going to hit your safe zone," and then you activate his effect by tributing him off and negating it. This is like running a fourth polymerization. Zumbaya the Dark, he's got 2100 attack as a base attack. And he's usually going to stay on the field for at least once. You activate the polymerization. 9 times out of 10, they'll warning it or they'll negate it for some reason. And then you just, okay, well, I'll just summon him. Summon my Earth Hex Silt Fusion, and then you tribute. Basically, it's a contact fuse him out. It doesn't. The problem is it doesn't count as a fusion summoning, so you can't get it back even if you could. Which is why Colossal Fighter is there so that I could summon out my last warrior again using Colossal Fighter. But there's so much effect removal that Colossal Fighter is not really relevant right now. Obviously, to get to your polymerizations are to substitute if you already have them. These are self-explanatory, and I already kind of explained them. This, it's a dual purpose. All these are dual purpose cards, every single one of them. With Forbidden Chalice, you can negate your opponent's cards. You can boost your attack to get over a big monster. If someone drops a Leo, you can match him with Dark Simorgh if you have to, or run over them with Scrap Dragon. Then you can negate their effects. There's a lot of monsters that have really good effects. You just shut them off for that turn. And then the main reason, this is the only reason why the deck ever worked. I've been running this deck ever since Chalice came out. One of my friends told me, "Hey, why don't you run Chalice if you want to try to get this deck together?" So I did, and it shuts off his effects. There have been different rulings, which goes judge by judge as far as what Chalice can shut off. Some judges will say that it shuts off both of his effects. Another judge will say it shuts off just one at a time, but you only need to shut off one at a time 9 times out of 10 anyway. Then Lance is obvious, Dress is obvious, Polymerization's obvious, search out. Anti-Spell Fragrance, a 1 card out to Quill Ports, plus it sets in the lock. Dark Simorgh plus this equals a lock. Your opponent can't do anything. Already explained that. This has 101 uses in this deck, even down to protecting your Moriokutai so you can protect one of your set cards. Macrocosmos, because there's so much floaters and graveyard-based effects right now that, which is why you don't run a Call of the Haunted. You can just empty out your graveyard, not giving a shit, and your opponent's going to be like, my life sucks. Plus, you get a Vanity's Emptiness plus a Macrocosmos. Dark Simorgh on the field and an Anti-Spell Fragrance. You got another lock right there. You could say, well, why don't you drop this card out? Well, Polymerization, as long as Macro's on the field, which you don't need it because you can just discard a card. It doesn't have to hit the graveyard. But you Polymerization, you have a Polymerization in your hand. Used to be dead. You set this card. You activate it whenever you, let's say, activate your Anti-Spell Fragrance or any one of your continuous trap cards. They're going to automatically hit it with an MST. Bam. It's gone. done. Dark Hole's at 2, get rid of it for good. I mean, the best thing about it is if you hit any of their spell cards that's at 3 and they don't run Summoner Monk, which not very much decks do, you're potentially giving them a 2 dead draws afterwards. So this card is totally worth it. Especially because the rituals are back and everything. Like, shutting off spell cards right now is just the best thing you can do. And then you go to the extra deck, which is you have to run it used to only be 2 Last Warrior from Another Planet, but you run 3 because it's not that you might never summon the third one, but it just so that this card's a lot liver. If you already summoned 2 and then you have to recover, you use this card, you use your reserve to get your get 2 cards back into your hand, even if it's just to get a Zombrai of the Dark just on the field to protect you. Absolute Zero is just absolutely necessary, especially because you run Polymers, you run the Prisma, and you run King of the Swamp, you run Moriokutai, you run your 101, and you run your Abyss Dweller. Scrap Dragon, you get there are times where you'll have a Last Warrior on the field, you have a Last Warrior on the field, you have your Chalice in hand, and they're still setting cards. You can't attack because it costs so much to get this card out that you just can't blindly attack. So what you'll do is you'll just start scrapping away everything. Just get it away. Get it out of the way. Like, they set a card, especially if you have an anti-spell fragrance and it's a spell card that they really want to use, you just blow up any card that they would set. My card, my card. I mean, it's like I said, it's technically a negative, but you're stalling out. Some people would call this a troll deck. I call it a lock deck because troll decks, they work and they're annoying. This deck does work and it is annoying, but it's a very skill-based deck. There's a lot of really good players that have picked this deck up thinking they were going to run it, and they just can't because they're too used to decks that plus. Stardust Spark Dragon, you put him on field first, drop a Last Warrior, use his effect to save himself, bam. Or, it used to be this was your only way to get the lock-in, but now you have your Dark Simorgh already on field, you already have your anti-spell fragrance, you have your polymerization Last Warrior set up, and you just go, okay, well, drop the Last Warrior, activate the effect, target Dark Simorgh, Stardust Spark Dragon will get blown up, Stardust Simorgh gets safe, you're locked. So if Stardust Spark Dragon was a card before Stardust, it would have helped this deck out immensely. This one's cool, you can do the same thing. Usually you go, usually you'll have your number 66, then you use his effect on, let's say, an anti-spell fragrance to protect it, and then you use, target, let's say, any other spell or trap card. You can just keep saving him. Or you target one card and Dark Simorgh, like, let's say you target, right here, Ninjutsu Art of Transformation. You target that, and then next turn you target a Dark Simorgh. Then Last Warrior will get dropped on the field. You say, okay, well, Ninjutsu Art will just get rid of that. Dark Simorgh can't get blown up by an effect, and your number 66 still on the field. There's another way to get your lock in place. And then the rest of these are just obvious. Number 101, still their monsters. Don't let them have a great graveyard. Bounce stuff back because you do run run two of these because you don't want to draw this. You want to add it to your hand, so you want to cut down the adding it to your hand, but you want to up the chances of getting him to your hand because he's a 1-card Dark Simorgh. So you do run 2, and let's say there's just a better time to you have a better chance where there's don't have any face-up cards, but you want to get into that Exceed. So you drop this, and then you bounce that back to the hand, because this doesn't ever leave the field unless it's MST'd. So if the let's say they get rid of Hanzo before you can activate this card for any reason, then you're just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just bounce it back to the deck, summon my next Hanzo, and then get it back to the hand, because, like I said, you have 5 ways of getting it. So then more graveyard hate. Leviair can get back anything you need. You get back him, pitch your polymerization, go to him, Dark Simorgh, activate this, get your polymerization back, and then add him to your hand. Happens a lot. Mega Clip Angleneer, just like Stardust Spark Dragon, you can save a Dark Simorgh. You know, they have a lot of destruction right now. You activate this, switch him to defense, you save your last warrior. You know, protect the castle, protect the castle. This one, he can protect. He can stall out. You can drop your last warrior, get rid of a card. There's just every card has multiple uses. It wouldn't be in here if it has multiple uses. Vanity Emptiness, like I said, is the only card that's not in here because it was super hard to get. Stupid story is I had so much of these because I bought so much Star Strike Blast that because I was trying to get Dragoonity stuff. I had so much of these that they were just laying around. I was picking them up off the floor because I just didn't care about them. Finally had to make room because I just had way too many cards, and I ended up throwing probably about 15 of these away. Just threw them away. Never thought to run them in the deck because of all the MSTs and Heavy Storms and everything like that. All the hate, and there were better cards to run. Threw them away, and I probably lost out on $120 some odd, maybe even more. So, yeah, don't throw away cards that you think are useless because they might come to bite you in the ass. But that's usually the way it goes. Yeah, that's my deck. You guys want to try to run it? That's up to you. If not, then it's just something you can look at and think, well, that fucking doesn't run. It's terrible on paper, but it works. I'm out.